And we're live. Welcome to Don't Be Coy. I'm your host, Unkle Lew, and today I have the honor, pleasure, and the utmost appreciation to have with me today Mr. Jon-Vincent Holden. Jon-Vincent, thank you for being on the show. How are you doing this morning?
I'm great. I appreciate you having me today.
Of course, man. No problem at all. Um, how was your previous week, man? Any takeaways?
um, Slow and steady wins the race. That's what I took away.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
totally understand that for sure. So, for the people at home, man, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Um, Hello everyone. Again, my name is Jon-Vincent Holden. I am a native to Jackson, Mississippi, where I've lived here all of my life. Um, the only time I didn't live here is when I did my master's at Mississippi State in Starkville, and that was for a year and a half, and then I moved right back. Um, I currently work for the Army Corps of Engineers as a contract specialist. Also, I am in the dissertation stage of my doctoral program at Jackson State University for urban planning and regional development. Also, I proposed to my now fiance, and it's today May, so 2 months ago in March. So I am officially signing my life away, but I'm happy about it.
Nice, man. Well, once again, congratulations on your engagement, man. I know you're really happy, and I'm really happy for you, man.
I appreciate it.
Of course, of course. And so I kind of want to talk to you a little bit about just your, I guess, your professional life and this whole community building aspect that you have. And so, can you tell us a little bit around what you do with the Army Corps of Engineers as a contract specialist?
Okay, so basically, I'm a middleman. I work for a laboratory, and they do a lot of research, development, design, things like that for the military. So everything that I help get funded really goes towards our troops, be it weapons or computers, things like that. That's really what I work with: weaponry, computers, or machinery. And the good thing about the lab that I work for is sometimes I haven't been able to do it since COVID, but sometimes they'll have like tests and we get to go watch it. So I said I want to be on the one where I want to be on the team where I can watch stuff explode, and hopefully I can work up my ranks to eventually press the button to make to detonate the explosives and make things go boom.
Nice, man. How did you get into that?
Well, uh, my family owns. This is gonna be a whole pivot, but it ties back into how I got into where I'm working. My family owns a furniture moving company, Terry's Installation. Shameless plug, but hey, if you're in the area and you need your residential or commercial items moved, stored, assembled, please hit us up. Um, but we at the company, we moved for major businesses, Butler and Snow. Um, Most of the buildings downtown, like the Regions Bank. We're doing Chase Bank. We do a lot of commercial businesses. And when you're a minority company, the government tries to assist you. So uh, the government tries to assist you to keep the economy going, to help level the field. You know, you being a small business, a black business, especially in the late '80s, early '90s, 2000s, all the way up to now. They still try to help. So we started working for them, and actually, the building that I work in, we're the ones who moved all the furniture, and I actually. I back in high school, I was one of the people who helped move some of the furniture in the building right next to it. And in college, I was able to help assemble some of the cubicles. The cubicle that I worked in, I assembled. So so that's how I learned about them. And uh, I was getting to the age of 26, and I was about to get kicked off of my parents' insurance, so I had to look for some more jobs that had benefits, and I applied. Actually, I didn't apply. I called. I basically called up there saying, "Hey, I need an interview. I need y'all to give me an interview." And I met with the right people, and the interview went well. Probably the interview was 15 minutes, and I just sat and talked to the very nice lady that actually helped me get a job there for probably an hour more, and she told me everything that they did. She showed me around, and that's how that happened, and I got it.
Yeah, man. There's one thing in that story that I really want to touch on, like that's a real key element to it, as far as like your family business and stuff like that. I know how you talked about how essentially it's like a minority business and things of that nature, and like how it's worked with a lot of different major organizations in the city. Like, can you tell us a little bit around how that started?
Yeah, well, it's my granddad's business, and currently my mom and my dad, be it they're divorced, they still work together. So that's kind of a dynamic that only a family business can bring.
Yeah.
um, and back in, mm, it was my grandfather actually started off driving buses, and he wanted to do a side hustle, and he started moving filing cabinets. So he'd move filing cabinets with just a dolly into places, and then eventually he got a crew, and then that's how it turned into what it is today. Just doing a side hustle, getting good at it, learning people, making good connections, and yeah, if you want to talk to him, he'd love to tell you about Tears Installation. I'm probably not even doing it that much justice, but the wit and the my sense of humor really comes from him. So if I can make you laugh, he can make you laugh 10 times harder,
Yeah.
and he can tell you way more stories about the business than I ever could. I know about 2007 till today, but when it started with him at his house with my grandmother, she and my mother, and well, really the whole family. They they started the business out of their home, and then they finally got a building. But yeah, it's a really great story, and I let him tell it because I'm probably gonna miss key details. But
Yeah.
that's how it started.
Yeah, no, but that's really interesting though. Like this whole concept of like a family business and like family legacy and stuff. Do you think that that's what got you interested in like city, urban, like regional planning and development?
Yeah, yeah. It ties back into family. Um, what got me started really into that area was what got me started is kind of like a gumbo pot. It has like a lot of mixed things, and it's not just one key ingredient. It's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the family business definitely helped my entrepreneurial drive, definitely. But my mom, she worked for Mayor Harvey Johnson, his whole stint as mayor, and just the stories that she told me, that what they brought to the city, I was like, that's awesome. So that's how I got into that, and everything else just really was like a domino effect. Every degree I got and all my experience with service, it kind of fell into place. I wasn't even trying to do like I 10 years ago, I wasn't even thinking the way I am now. But everything that I've done kind of fell into place, and it just so happened that that's what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of a wild story. I really wanted to be a lawyer.
Mm.
I really wanted to be a lawyer, but things happen. I could tell my people were getting older, so I saw everything that we had, and I didn't want it to fall solely on my sisters. So since I'm the only boy, I kind of had to, uh, see how I could help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense, man. I think there's a lot to like deconstruct there, and hopefully in this conversation today we can like do it a little bit of justice, because like even when you talk about just this whole concept of like you noticing that your family is getting a little bit older and things of that nature, and so like you wanted to not have that whole burden around just your sisters, and so essentially you looked at all the different pieces that you had together and like came up with this whole career. I'm curious as far as just like if you could talk to us a little bit around like your family dynamic and this family legacy, because one thing for me that I've always been like I'll say impressed with is like how close knit your family is. Like even if your sister may live in Texas now, or you moving out of your mom's house, and as you mentioned beforehand, your parents even being divorced, but still working together. I think there's this interesting dynamic that you have of like a close knit family that has even transcended into your friendships of how you build like friendships and the connections that you build. So can you talk to a little bit around like how you perceive like community building or like family dynamics?
Okay. Well, all right. Well, I'll speak to the close knitness of my family, right? Family is the family that I have is the only one that I'm like. My mom, my dad, they're the only parents I'm ever gonna have. I came from them.
Right.
Their decisions in life, it affected me, but it doesn't have anything to do with like what I do, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand that in life, like back when I was in 10th grade and everything was happening, and it was happening so fast for a young kid, it was hard to process. But now as a grown man, and I'm still growing, and I'm not even married yet, I understand how relationships go. So I want to say that part, whatever they did is them.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate them for sticking around long enough to make me. And I appreciate them thugging it out for the long haul, to where both my sisters were in college and I was old enough to understand what was going on. So that's first and foremost. So I appreciate them. Also, with my grandparents on my mom's side, they were married 50 years. When I was in the 8th grade, they had their 50th anniversary being married while I was in the 8th grade. My grandmother passed in 2018, a week after my birthday. So even though I saw how relationships could fail with my parents, I saw also how relationships could stay together with my grandparents. So I got to see a good balance of both: what to do, what not to do. When problems arise, this is how to handle it. This is not how to handle it. Not saying that my parents' relationship was just god awful and my grandparents' relationship was perfect. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
everything has a balance, and you need to know how to keep the balance. So, you need to know how to handle things when things go bad, and how to make it good again. So I appreciate it for that. Also with so that's the family part. I think family you just stick it through, and things are gonna go bad. Fights are gonna be had. Things are gonna be said, but don't don't destroy everything. When you're arguing, at least argue with a purpose. Uh, don't even argue right off the bat. Maybe just sit down and think before you open your mouth, because that's how things can get blown up if you just spitting off. So yeah, that I learned that from them. So that's why the family's so close, because we know that that's all we have. Um, so that's the relationship part of my family. The community building actually goes to started off with, like I said, my mom worked for the mayor. I got to see her doing. She was basically. Do you know Olivia Pope? She was the
Yeah.
Olivia Pope to the mayor without like the scandal part. Like I even remember they put a article in the paper. I don't know which paper, but it said the only reason why my mom's there is because she's like her niece. And my mom even laughed. She said they can't even say I'm sleeping with him or nothing. Like I'm that boring. But because that's what people usually say just to get dirt on
Yeah.
people. You know what I mean? Not saying that she did or nothing. Nah, that's like the mayor's like my uncle, and like that was never a thing. But she was just laughing because she was like, "Dang, we're really that boring that they can't even make up a like a thing."
Mm-hmm.
So I got to see her. I got to see them bring in baseball teams to the city, the convention center, things like that. And that kind of piqued my interest. On my granddad's side, like I said, he owned the business. My dad worked for him um, ever since I was alive. Uh, and I got to go everywhere. Honestly, I got to move. We moved furniture everywhere on every street in Jackson, Madison, Ridgeland, and I got to be a part of that, and I got to see. It's kind of like the old saying, the janitor. If the janitor is wise enough, he'll pay attention to what people are doing.
Mm-hmm.
And like probably in 10 years he can do it just by having conversations with people. So, me being the grandson and me, you know, the outlook on life I had, people would talk to me, and the people that either owned the business or worked there or hired us, they would talk to me, and I could still talk to them a lot of them to this day. So that's how I got into uh, that, and also my grandfather was a part of the 100 Black Men, which I am currently a part of as well, of Jackson, and uh, I got to see him uh, mentor kids. And my father also, all the way up until he was my basketball coach. So I got to see men that I knew involved with helping kids, and how they talked to them, how they treated them, things like that. And that's how I got into being involved in the community a little more. And yeah, that I hope I'm not babbling. I hope I'm not rambling, but that's pulling from 28 years. That's what I couldn't condense or summarize, I
Yeah.
guess. So, yeah.
No, man, you're not babbling or rambling at all. I think that what you're talking about is some really key things, especially when you talk about um, as far as just it sounds like you have a history of like your family being ingrained into the community. Like, some people, they talk about how they grew up in an area, so the first thing that they want to do is flee. But like for you, like, yeah, you spent majority of your life in Jackson outside of the time that you were in your master's program, but like your family is ingrained into that community, not only from just like you literally living there, but like your mother working for the mayor. So like you getting to see like not necessarily just the politics side of things, but like how like a community can be built as far as like baseball teams, convention centers. You saw how your grandfather owning a business created a wealth of different networks. and then like also getting to see your father and your grandfather being in how do you say, like in mentorship perspectives and things of that nature. And so it's just like for you as an individual growing up, it's like your your city, your community is essentially your home. And so like, you know, it sounds like even with what you were saying beforehand about being a servant leader, like why be a servant leader to another place when you see your own home with the perspective that you have needing certain aspects, and so bringing that component to it. And so it all makes total sense to me, man. And I think one thing that's really interesting that you talked about is like youth mentorship and like as you mentioned the 100 Black Men. Another thing that I just know about that you didn't mention as far as like Kappa League and like all those different aspects. I'm curious around like how you're involved with that now and like what kind of approach do you take to it, seeing with what your father and your grandfather did when it came to like mentorship of youth.
Right. Well, as you mentioned, I am a part of KA Psi Phi Nu Pi till the day I die, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. I was initiated in 2013 at the Gamma Rho chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi at Unkle Lew College. Um, yeah, and when I graduated, I I quickly became a part of the grad chapter because I just felt like, you know, if I dip out on the service part, I'm probably not gonna go back to it.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the key things that kept me there was Cap League. So Cap League is a youth mentor group. It's an auxiliary group to Kappa, and Alphas have one, Omegas have one, Sigmas have one, and all the sororities have one as well. Um, so they asked me. I mean, as soon as I graduated, we did a retreat in the summer, and they said, "Hey, would you mind helping with Kappa League?" Because the older guys, they don't know. Well, the older guys either they didn't know how to stroll, step, or twirl a cane, or they didn't have time to do it. So I'll say that. And I understood, you know, at the time I was working with my family. So, you know, my hours could be lenient as long as I came in for 5 hours and dipped off, they'd be cool with that. So I worked with them and it's been a ride, man. I love it. So right now, due to COVID, we can't really do as much as we used to. But man, before COVID happened, I was over botillions, which are basically graduate. It was fundraiser banquets for the kids. Like, you know, so
Mm-hmm.
when they go to college, they'll have some bread in their pocket. It might not be a lot, but you know, it's not theirs, and it was donated. So you know, anything can help.
Yeah.
And that was that was a heck of a experience. Me doing that. I learned that I learned that you can lean on the shield, and maybe you know what I'm talking about. You can lean on the shield just, you know, not that much, but like if you you can't lean on the shield too heavy, man. So, but we made it happen. Also, we did a lot of step shows. We did probably 4 step shows in the 3 years that I was doing it before COVID. Um, and that's a lot of work. Like you might say 3, but you know, getting 12 boys with 12 different sets of parents and schedules to meet on days on the weekend. And you know, it might be football season, it might be basketball season. You know, like getting that coordinated at least 5 times before a step show is magnificent,
Yeah.
honestly. So I was able to do that. We did parties. But what I really was enjoying doing, actually, uh, a guy who's your friend, Mark Cunningham. He he was in when we did a step show. He had his Amp Up guys, which is the Alpha auxiliary group, come and they performed. And he said, "Hey man, I want to do a like a not a speech and debate, but I forget the exact name of a oratorical contest."
Mm-hmm.
And we did that at JA, and I loved it. It was during Black History Month, and it was our guys, my guys, his guys, and we invited kids from high schools to actually participate, and it was phenomenal. So once everything is lifted up, I plan on reaching out to him. I already got in contact with the Sigma Beta uh, advisor, and I told him that I wanted to do some stuff like that, and we have some things in the works. And even working with other Kappa League advisors, man, it's awesome because even if you're in the frat 10 years, you still don't know everything about the frat, and you
Right.
don't know everything about people or dealings in the frat. So the more you are in it, the more you learn, and the more you learn is the more you learn that you don't know. So this has only been a great experience, and I love it, man. It and outside of even the planned events, the kids, even kids who graduated, they still come around, man. I just had one of my Kappa League boys who graduated from he actually graduated from Jackson State last year, and he came over last night because his friends were uh, graduating, and he came and he was in the area, and we watched Ozark and we kicked it and chopped it up, and it creates another sense of family, community that that is awesome. And you really can't explain it because because they be remembering stuff that I did that I really don't be remembering. They say Mr. Vince, they call me Mr. Vince. Mr. Vince, you soft on them boys now. Like so it's awesome. It's awesome, like just seeing what they thought of you and you growing from it's kind of hard to explain. My 28-year-old brain that just woke up 50 minutes ago can't really even put into words how appreciative I am that I was able to do that.
Yeah.
I really can't even explain it. I
Yeah.
don't want to babble though.
No, man, you're not babbling at all. I think you're talking about like a really key thing when one of the things that I like to call it as far as filling your cup. So like metaphorically, right? We all have like a cup that we can fill with either good energy or bad energy. And so like one of the things that I try to do is just fill my cup to the maximum with as much best possibilities as well. Like one of the things that I like to do is just have conversations like you and I are doing right now because it expands my perspective and like gives me a different outlook on like life that like I can reflect on later on in the day or later on in the week. And I think for you, man, it sounds like, you know, family and community is something that is like we talked about earlier, very integral to who you are as an individual. And like working with the youth is another way that helps you fill that cup because it's just like, you know, you don't know what these people are going to do, but like, you know, the energy that you bring in is intentional and genuine. And so like, it's really great to see the rewards of just putting in good work for the youth so that they can have good experiences. Because like we can all reflect on different things that we may have done, whether it was extracurricular activities like basketball. I know for myself, I was a part of Alpha Bow in Hattiesburg, which was an auxiliary group. And like it, for me, it really and truthfully helped me in my development. Because I think about how growing up in a predominantly white area, like I didn't necessarily have a lot of people who look like me in my classrooms and things of that nature. And so to be able to go to like a group where it was just maybe from people from different parts of the city, but we're all like coming together like playing together, like stepping, doing different like academic events and stuff like that. It helps grow as an individual, and then to be on the other side of that and implement that for to continuous generations, I think that's a phenomenal thing, man.
Right. It is. I agree.
So, like, let's talk about that for a little bit, man. You know, we talked a little bit about like family dynamics and like how your family has created this kind of core of the importance of like community in you, and like how you, even as yourself, instill that into future generations. Now, like on the professional tip, you know, you talked about like how you're going into city planning. Like, what actually sparked this interest to pursue this kind of PhD into that? Because I think it's very curious, not very curious, very interesting that you decided to go and get this PhD, man.
Right. So, like I said, my mom worked for the mayor, and uh, Mayor Harvey Johnson, I want to say his name. Um, and that was his background. And I want to every. It's kind of I don't know. I don't want to say ambitious. It's almost kind of. I'm gonna be honest. It's almost kind of like I want to imitate and emulate all the men that I um admire.
Mm-hmm.
So my father and my grandfather, like I said, both. Oh, my father owns his own business too. I don't want to leave him out because if I do, he might stop cutting my grass and helping me with my lawn and stuff. But my dad has his own lawn. My dad has his own lawn service, and he works with my grandfather. And even though he isn't um, my grandfather's son, they they talk like they're blood. And so take they're connected, and that's awesome. I kind of almost forgot your question, but I'm going back to it. I just wanted to mention that before I skipped over it. So what got me into it was basically my mom working for the mayor, and I love Harvey. Honestly, I mean, like, I don't know how many ideas I've had that I just shot to him, and he said, "Yeah, okay." And before I got into my doctoral program, he made me think. Like I said, "Oh, well, I want to help the homeless," and he was like, "Okay, so how much is that going to cost? Where are they going to live? Would people want them in their area? Stuff like that."
Mm-hmm.
And as a kid still in undergrad, you're like, "Oh yeah, this is a great idea," but you don't know all the variables to make something happen.
Yeah.
And that really gives me like, when people are able to accomplish things like that, it makes me admire them more. So that's what made me do it. Um, but and I still want to, and I eventually want to become the mayor, honestly. So that's why I'm doing everything that I do. And it's people like the question that a lot of my professors say, because my professors even ask, "Why are you here?" Like, you could be doing anything else than getting a doctorate, because your doctorate, this is grueling time. You have to study when you could be out. And I was the youngest guy. I was the youngest man in my class, and I surely acted like it. So they were like, "So why are you here?" And I was like, "Well, I want to be the mayor one day." And they were like, "So you're getting your doctorate to become a mayor?" I said, "No, I'm getting my doctorate so I know about city planning, because if I'm going to run a city, I need to know, like, the theory of it." I didn't even go into my doctorate thinking that I was going to learn theory. I thought I was going to be out in the field, but that's more the master's program. So, but the doctorate program is making me think more.
Yeah.
And it made me, it grew, like, it getting your doctorate is just like being online, bro. I'm not even gonna lie. If I can be frank, if I can get out of interview mode and get into John mode and get relaxed, it's really like it's a process, and it's not gonna be and it's not gonna be short and sweet. You're gonna get frustrated. You are going to you're gonna be like, I want to quit.
Yeah.
And my dean, my chair, my head chair of my dissertation, we were at an event this week, and she said something that you'll hear when you're like going through the process of becoming whatever organization you're gonna be in. She said, we're not gonna let you graduate if we don't think you're prepared to go in the world and defend what you're doing. And that's kind of why I said it's kind of like being online, because they're not going to let you say that you are whatever and you can't spit your founders.
Mm-hmm.
Or you don't know your history, because then that makes them look bad.
Right.
So that's why I tied it into that. It's not but you know, it's not as hard as people make it seem, but it's long. And like, you might love it in January, on January 1st, but I guarantee, like, sometimes on January 10th, I'd be like, why am I here?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's in the same month. So, you know, but you know, it's worth it. So, can you ask your main question again? Because I think I went all around the world and I kind of forgot it. I apologize.
No, man. You answered my question. I was talking about like what sparked that interest towards it. And I think like what you pivoted towards is a really great point. Like, you know, as far as talking about like, as you mentioned beforehand, your mother working for the mayor, and then also as far as like, just being kind of a youth that really saw like things that could impact like your community. And like as you mentioned beforehand, like being in a PhD program, it's kind of like being online, because it's like we all, just to go on to this analogy, like for myself, right? Like, oh yeah, I want to be an alpha, but like what exactly does that mean? So like to become an initiate, you have to learn your history, and then once you learn your history, then you can like continue on and like go on and live the light of alpha, kappa, whatever you decide that you want to do. And so like I think for you, that's a really interesting point, that you're in like this kind of process where, you know, you're learning the history, and like now you're at your dissertation point where you're about to submit your proposal and defend your dissertation and things of that nature. What through your process have you learned that you said this is going to be my niche, or at least this is what I'm going to focus my research on, so that like, because I already know like your answer is going to be about something where it helps your community.
Right. Right. Yeah. I plan on doing this for as long as I can, honestly. Especially in the program. The program really solidified this as what I want to do, which is planning. Just this, not this weekend, but 2 weeks ago, my abstract was accepted. Well, this was months ago. My abstract was accepted for a climate change conference in New Orleans, and I'm about to give you a whole nother story, man. I apologize.
No, it's great. Go ahead.
Okay, so I was accepted to present my research that I did for Black farmers in the Delta and how climate change is affecting them, and specifically flooding. And I'm gonna let you know this. Like, sometimes I get into things and I don't even really know what I got into. Mm-hmm. Because I was not prepared for that conference. Like, I did all my research, right? And I know what I'm talking about. Like when I went to Mississippi State, I actually did all that work at Mississippi State for my internship. So I knew exactly the topic that I was talking about. But when it came to the conference part, they just said, "Oh, hey, yeah, you're gonna be on a you're gonna." First off, I thought I was gonna do a poster, so I prepared for a poster. Then a week before, I was told, "Oh no, you're actually gonna be presenting it in front of people, like with a PowerPoint." And I was like, "Okay, so that's cool." And then when I get there, I'm thinking that I'm gonna go on a specific time. No, it's not the time I thought. And I thought it was gonna be because usually what happens is you're on a panel with like 5 people. So I'm like, okay, well, it's just a 5-minute presentation. So that's kind of what I was preparing for. Well, it was just me and another guy. And they said, you're supposed to get up there and talk for 20 minutes. I'm like, okay. So I could talk for 20 minutes, but I wasn't prepared for the 20-minute part, right? So this is actually like a good little story because the guy, he went up there and he was prepared to the nines. He was talking about water, faucet water in New Orleans and like all the contaminants in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he did great. So I go up next, and I when I'm talking, if I'm talking like off the cuff, I'm very charismatic. But when I have to read, it's weird. So I started reading some of the things. I was like, nah, let me just go off the cuff. So I was kind of nervous, but it went down the way I thought it should and would. And eventually, like because I was talking about how farmers in the Delta could lose their land, how they have lost their land, how they've lost money on crops, things like that. And it was awesome that they talked to me a lot. You know what I mean? Like they talked to me a little more than they talked to the young man that I was next to, that he actually went over the time so he was very prepared. But the research that I did, especially in a room full of Black students, when the elders talk, it's something about when old people like latch on to what you're talking about. It makes you feel like, okay, thank God. Like, I didn't like waste nobody's time, because I hate doing that. You know what I mean? So that was just a little story about that. But stories like that happen in my program all the time, man. Like I told you, I'm going to San Diego this month for research on rivers, and that's kind of what my dissertation is about. But going back to the community aspect, and this is why I said everything that I'm doing is kind of meshing together really well, because you remember when I took you out to go fishing, right?
Yeah.
Down in Terry. Well, I had the bright idea. Now, all right, so me being in the program now they make me look at buildings and cities and how clean they are, the transportation aspect, the infrastructural aspect. Like before all of this, I didn't look at cities like that. And when you get into a program, even though like a lot of people's first idea is like, oh yeah, I'm about to have a title. You know what I mean? Like I'm about to have, but when you fall in love with it, like with the material and like the concepts of everything, you start looking at everything different, if that makes sense. Like you look at, oh, okay, so on this side of the train track, and you hear it all the time, this side of the train track is really well, and like a block over, it is trash. Like it's very bad over here. So I went to Atlanta, and I saw that they had little pockets everywhere they had their own bars, they had their own, like the roads were clean, things like that. And I was like, I don't like the what I'm describing doesn't even what I'm saying doesn't even really put how like what I saw.
Yeah.
They had in every little pocket, they had you could walk from your apartment to a nice restaurant, to a nice event, and it was safe.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, and we don't even really have what I saw. I went to New Orleans, like I said, I went to New Orleans for the climate change conference. Yeah, it was Bourbon Street. We went to Bourbon Street, but there was another little area, side pocket, and it was just like Bourbon, but it was like everything was. It was. I forget the area. It wasn't. It wasn't the. I forget the area, man. But it was nice.
Yeah.
And the roads were paved well. Like you had restaurant, and then the restaurants were on the bottom, and then you had people living up top, and everything was inclusive. It was multicultural, and it was in walking distance to anything you needed. They had a market there, and you could walk there. You could like they had jobs there, and you could walk. It was something that you might see in Italy. It was something that you might see in like a different country. Like I don't know, but it was beautiful and
Yeah.
it was inclusive. So you said, if am I going to be doing this for the rest of my life? Yeah, because the place that I was telling you about, well, the place that I took you to when we went fishing, we own it, and that's a lot of land out there.
Mm-hmm.
So right now I'm looking at how to develop it. So undergrad, I got my degree in economics business, my master's ag management, and now I'm doing urban planning. So all of that kind of ties into how to develop an area that's uh, environmentally friendly and economically beneficial to the residents there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like I said, everything that I did and everything that my family did is kind of like playing into each other because 10 years ago, I wasn't even thinking about doing that. 10 years ago, I was thinking about just keeping all that land out there for for deer hunting and four-wheeler riding, but like as you progress through your stuff, and if you have with great power comes great responsibility. So you kind of want to help out, and you want to keep what your family did going. And if my granddad gave us all of that, what are we gonna do with it? And a lot of people sell their land off, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking like, okay, well, this area that we're in, they don't have anything. Not saying they don't have anything, but they don't really have what Madison, Ridgeland, Pearl has.
Right.
And those same people from that area go to those areas to spend money. I don't even know if they have a real grocery store like that out there.
Right.
So what I could do is, what I decided to do was, out of the land that I have, I'm gonna use 100 acres of it to create a nice little district. And me going everywhere for school really just only makes me look at what they have and pull the good things that they have and create a nice area for people who want to get out of the city but still have their own entertainment, have their own social life, have a nice place to live, send their kids to school there. You know what I mean? That's gonna be my new mission in life. Is just what my granddad, my mom, my dad, and everyone else in my family and school and my organization taught me to help better an area.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to do.
Yeah, man.
So yeah.
No, man, that's a really beautiful thing, man. And I really believe that you can make that happen. And anything that I can do to help out with that dream, I'm behind you 110%. So I know later on we'll probably talk a little bit more about that. But I just wanted to just put that note out there for you, man.
And I appreciate it. And sometimes people say, "Yeah, I'll help," and then they don't. But you're one of the people who I know mean it.
Yeah.
And so even if you didn't say it, I knew I could be like, "Hey, bro, I might need you to like plug me somewhere, or something like that. Whatever you could do, I know that you could do it. And I'm not the type of guy to say, "Hey, I need $1 million." I'm not that type of guy either. So the thing that I would need help from you can do it, and you'll willingly do it.
Of
So,
course.
and I appreciate that, man.
Of course,
I
man.
really do.
Well, man, I'm going to like tie this knot up, man, and like let you get back to your day. But like before I do that, there's some lightning questions that I usually do on every episode, and I'm gonna run through those with you and let you get back to your day. How's that sound?
It sounds great.
All right. What's your favorite relaxation or self-care activity?
Swimming.
Nice. I remember that you're a lifeguard, so like that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, man. Love swimming.
For sure. What's your best book recommendation?
I've always liked The Tears of the Tiger.
Mm,
That's one of my I'm gonna let you know I'm not an avid reader, but that story kind of like hit close to home when I read it. So
yeah.
that's my favorite book. Because I was playing basketball at the time, and it was a cool little team book, and I like I said, I never really read. So when I read that story, I was like, they have books like this. So I've read all that series, and I still have them at my mom's house. In my little book collection, I have a lot of comic books. If I really want to be honest, any comic book, really, that's what I read. Dragon Ball Z, Batman, Spider-Man, stuff like that. But that book, actually, it was the first book that made me cry.
Mm,
So that will forever be. And I read it in a day, and you would have never heard. Like, I was just in my room reading it. And I just sat down, and I was like, man, I have to read this for school. I want to do it. But by chapter 2, it had me hooked. So, yeah.
Sounds good. And
Here's
one person you want to thank for your journey thus far.
Would it be cliche if I said God? Or,
No, man, it's whoever you want to thank.
well, I thank God that he put everybody in my life at the times he did, because everything that people did to me or for me has stuck with me. I'm not a person who really forgets. I might forget like exactly what happened, but I remember what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember what was done for me and to me. So he put a lot of people in place when I needed them. It was almost like a movie. You know how like it was coincidental that things happened the way it did. So I thank him for the thousands of people that he put in my life when he did.
Yeah, man. Well, I want to just thank you for being on the show, man. It's been a great just catching up with you and talking with you, man. And I hope that you have a great rest of your day.
You too, Melly Mel.
All right, man. This has been another episode of Don't Be Coy with Unkle Lew. As always, I'd like to thank this episode's guest for a great conversation, as well as thank you, the listener, for joining in. Whether you're a first-time listener or a regular, I always appreciate your support. If you like today's episode and ever want to listen to more, subscribe to our show on Apple Podcasts, Audible, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. And to join our community and access future bonus content, be sure to visit dbkpodcast.com.